Hello everyone, this is Miss Lloyd. I am going to show you the trig hand trick today. So this works very well for the first quadrant. It works whether you're left-handed or right-handed, it really doesn't matter. And basically, once you've got the first quadrant of the unit circle, you have the entire circle because of the reflection and our reference angles, which I explained the reference angle in my original unit circle video. So you can check that out if you haven't already. So just like before, I kind of don't want to show my own hands, one, because I have a toe thumb, two, because it just is going to be really difficult to hold the camera, so I'm going to use this instead. And so I've kind of put a layout for our first quadrant. So there's my 0 degrees or 0 radians. There is my 30 degrees or pi over 6 radians. There's my 45 degrees or pi over 4 radians. My 60 degrees, which is the same as pi over 3 radians, and then my 90 degree, which is pi over 2 radians. So each of our fingers and our thumb represent one of the angles in the first quadrant of the unit circle. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know, moving my hand around like you guys can actually see it. So, all right, so something else that we talked about in the videos before was that whenever we're looking at the unit circle, the points of the unit circle are cosine of the angle, comma, sine of the angle. So cosine represents our x, sine represents our y values. And so here, something fun is that the comma is going to represent our bent finger. So depending on which angle we're looking at, we're going to bend the finger that corresponds with that angle. And then when we're trying to figure out the cosine of that, we're looking at the left side of our bent finger, just like cosine is on the left side of the comma. And we're going to look at the number of fingers, square root of the number of fingers, and put that over 2 every single time. And ditto is going to go for the sine. So same thing there. Just we're looking at to the right of the bent fingers instead of to the left. So looking at 30 degrees first, if I were to quote unquote bend my 30-degree finger, so it is now bent, this now represents my comma. Then I look to the left and I see I have 3 fingers. So that means for cosine I have square root 3 over 2 for my 30 degrees. So cosine of 30 degrees is square root 3 over 2. And then to the right, I have just my thumb. So that still represents a finger, even though mine kind of looks like a toe. And so the square root 1 over 2, which is just 1 over 2. So sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. And so I love teaching this in person because I can see the look on my kids' faces when they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I don't actually have to memorize it because you don't. As long as you understand reference angles, you don't have to memorize the entire unit circle. So then now I'm going to bend my 45-degree finger. So this is me bending my 45-degree finger. To the left, I have 2 fingers, so that's square root 2 over 2. To the right, I also have 2 fingers. So then that is also square root 2 over 2. So my sine and cosine of 45 degrees are both square root 2 over 2. Next, I'm going to do my 60-degree finger. So I'm bending down my ring finger. And so to the left of my ring finger, I just have my pinky. So then that's going to be square root 1 over 2, which is just 1 over 2. And then to the right, I have 1, 2, 3 fingers. So then sine of 60 degrees is square root 3 over 2. And even while I'm teaching the unit circle, I'll sit there and start bending my fingers. I also tell kids that if I was like really hardcore, I'd get knuckle tattoos with the 60 degrees and the pi over 3, but I'm not hardcore at all. And so now we get to the part where it's what we have 90 and 0 degrees left, and some people may question like, oh, well, does it work for that? And yes, it does, my friends. It does indeed. So if I bent my pinky finger and I look to the left, there are no fingers to the left of my pinky finger, which means that my cosine of 90 degrees is 0. And then to the right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, 3 in my thumb. And so square root of 4 is 2. 2 over 2 would give me 1. This is also a pickup line that I tell my students. So you see someone you think is cute and you go up to them, or like, I don't know, you're on one of the apps, dating apps, and you say, "Hey, babe, what's your sign?" It must be pi over 2 because you're the one. And so that's how I scar my students into remembering that sign of pi over 2 is 1. Of course, the next question I get is, "Miss, has that ever actually worked?" And then I just try to change the subject as quickly as possible. So then now we can do the same thing with our thumb. So if I bend my thumb, that means that I have to the left, I have 4 fingers, so square root of 4 is 2. Again, 2 over 2 is just 1. And then I have no fingers to the right, so then my sign would be 0. And then also, if you were looking at tangent, you can still use this. So say I was bending my 45-degree finger, so we know that tangent of theta is equal to sine of theta over cosine theta. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip my hand, which I'm doing, but you can't see. I'm sorry. And so you're looking at the square root of however many fingers you have over, like your bent finger is now the division bar, and then however many, square root of how many fingers you have on the bottom. And then you would get your tangent for everything, if you wanted to look at it that way. But just remembering it's sine over cosine, so the y value over the x value is also helpful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it entertaining or helpful at least. For my students, your homework is in the LMS. For everyone else, like, subscribe, send it to a friend, leave a comment if you will, and I'll check you guys later.